All right, guys, welcome to the first official episode of the Hero Club podcast with your host, Brett McPeters.
And I'm Micah Howell.
If you have not listened to our pilot episode, where we really unpack kind of why we're starting this podcast, where the vision came from, where the idea came from, our company, Hometown Heroes Sports Agency, we introduce a little bit about ourselves, why we started the company, why we started the podcast, all that kind of stuff. If you haven't watched that, I would suggest go watching that first. Really gives a good background and kind of shows our why behind everything.
Yeah.
So if you haven't watched that, stop and go watch it. But with that,
Yeah, with
welcome
that.
to the first real episode.
Yeah, absolutely. We're pumped to get started, excited for it. We're excited, especially today, because as those of you all know, today is the national championship game for college football this season. And so
Go Dogs.
I know that as an Alabama fan, we were super happy in how we finished the season. However, the season was a slight disappointment for Brett over there, though. And you can see it in the smile on his face. He's more than excited to be here. So we'll start off.
Back to back, baby. I mean,
We'll see. We'll see.
look, we waited for 40 years. And no, I'm just saying we've been with back to back.
You've
2 years.
been back to
We've
back.
been there. We've been there 2 years in a row now, which I plan on being at winning 2 years in a row. But with that, we waited our time, and here we are, two in a row. We're there,
Here
two
we
in a
are.
row. We're dancing. We're at least dancing.
We'll see. We'll see if you can close the night, seal the deal.
That's right.
But
We're
yeah,
excited. The beginning of our podcast can really kick off at the end of crazy college football season. It's been
yes.
fun. It's been, if you guys have kept up with it, it's been a wild ride from, I mean, I think I've seen more top 10 changes week in and week out this season than I have ever seen.
Absolutely.
It's been wild, but we're excited because we can talk about it's the biggest stage in college football, and we're excited to be able to talk about that now and what that looks like when it comes to NIL for some of these players that either already have big NIL value already or someone that may not have before, and this is giving them a chance to say, "Hey, I'm playing for a college football team that's in the national championship."
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, I'm excited to see. You obviously have your CJ Strouds in the last game, but this game, I mean, you have your Max Duggins, you have your Stetson Bennett's, you have Brock Bowers. I mean, all these people, Quentin Johnson, who they have that NIL value right now, and we're going to see that jump. But you also have, I mean, people that we don't know about, the second string offensive linemen, people like that, that just because their team has made it to this stage, that their value is about to jump.
Oh yeah,
So because they have that brand behind them, and if you're a company and you can say, hey, I work with an offensive lineman at the national championship on the national championship football team, like that alone, the value carries so much weight that those people I might not know their name, and I'm an NIL agent, but
absolutely. Yeah, and something we talk about day in and day out on the company side of things for us is um, a lot of NIL has to do with the Instagram following or just what your name and where you go to school and what sport you play, how that impacts the value you bring to a company ultimately. And that's what these companies look for when they want to choose athletes that they're going to use to market their company. And I mean, we say all the time, like, man, if we could get an athlete that's has that name value
yeah,
with
that's playing on this stage.
yeah, I play football for the University of Georgia, who is playing in the national championship. I play for TCU, who's playing in the national championship. That alone, company hears that and it's like, come on, baby, let's go, bring it on. Like,
Yeah,
we can market you to anybody.
yeah, yeah.
That's big.
So I mean, that company, they all of a sudden hit such a big stage and such a big partnership that there's so much that they can do with that. And man, I don't know about you, but I am pumped to see where college football goes, where companies goes, and where NIL value goes and NIL deals. I mean, there's gonna be some awesome NIL deals that come out of this at the end of the season. I mean, now that players have one more time to actually load into NIL.
The off season's big.
Yeah, the off season's huge, but then right after the national championship game, I mean, who's going to take advantage of what they've now have because of what happened this postseason.
Yeah, and something too that that we're looking at with personally with our company is think about the time of year it is as well. It's the beginning of the year. Company budgets are starting over.
Yeah.
These guys are ready to hit the ground running and their new year marketing plans or whatever that may be. And man, I mean, what a time it is to be in the NIL industry. It's going to be fun to watch. It's going to be fun to be a part of. It's going to be fun to orchestrate some deals.
Yeah.
We got some football players ourselves. None on the national championship teams yet, but
Yeah.
we'll get there.
We will. We will.
That's right, man.
Yeah.
But when it comes to football, we have this is our last chance to talk a little bit of college football ourselves as well. What do you think of the playoff selection between the four teams? So we got Georgia 1,
Yeah.
best team in the country. It was Michigan 2, TCU 3, Ohio State 4. What did you think of
Yeah. I mean,
the placings?
as an Alabama student, I know that there was a big of Alabama fans that thought that Alabama should make it over
Did
TCU
you think they were going to get in?
after TCU lost to Kansas State.
You thought they were going to get in?
I did not think they were going to get
Okay.
in. I do not think that we should have gotten in either. That's the hot take. A lot of Alabama fans, they'll press me on that one. But I mean, the precedent that the college football committee would have to set to put us in over TCU. I mean, you're saying
I'm really glad to hear you say that as an Alabama. That does make me happy that
because look, you're saying
you're in the minority of Alabama.
I am.
Because
I am.
every Alabama fan would say, okay, well, if we play TCU, would they win? I probably agree with that statement, but you cannot put a 2-loss team in the playoffs. It's never been done, and it cannot happen, and you cannot excuse Bama from that.
When you're setting the precedent, not only that we had 2 losses, but that as a TCU team, you can go undefeated the entire season, have one of the best strength of schedules in a season, and then go and lose your conference championship game by 3 points, a game that Alabama never had to play in because we didn't even make the conference championship game.
Extra game. You can't – I agree. It's hard to punish a team for playing an extra game.
Exactly. And so, like, I think that we could beat TCU the way that we played against Kansas State. Absolutely. The way that we played half the season, I'm not going to make any promises there. But I think that the college football committee played it right. Now, where there is another argument is should we have made it over Ohio State? Again, I don't think that we should have made it Ohio State. I do think that we are a better team than Ohio State. But
Ooh. Yeah, it's a hot take, pal.
It's a hot take, but I'll defend that take. All right, look at the way we ended the season, the Kansas State game, and if we're here, we're looking back on it now. Ohio State's argument is the same way they played against Georgia, so I get to use the argument about how we played against Kansas State. All right, but in the playoff, Ohio State looked great. In Alabama's bowl game,
they looked fantastic.
We made the team that beat TCU look like a high school football team.
Second half, you did.
Say anything but the first quarter, but the first 7 minutes of the game. They went up 10-0, and from there we went on like a 35-3 run.
I just can't get past losing to LSU. I cannot get past probably should have lost to A&M. That is the biggest. And nobody's perfect. You're gonna have bad games. I get it. We had a close game with Missouri and Kent State. That's embarrassing. I still think we're the best team in the country. But we should close the door.
Look, I agree. Alabama played too many close games this season. And back to the point, I don't think that we should be in the playoff. All right. I was really cheering for USC to make the playoff. I wanted USC to beat Utah in the Pac-12 championship game. And for us
Utah,
and Ohio State, I do love Utah.
I love watching Utah play football.
But I wanted us and Ohio State to both be out of the playoff. One, because I think it would have been great for the sport for USC to be in the playoff. Two, I think it would have been great for the sport to have Alabama and Ohio State out of the playoff.
I'm going to shout out my roommate, Jack Savoy. He said, when USC is good at football, football's fun. And I love it. It's so true.
I agree.
Because a classic team like that, like your USCs, your Miamis, shoot, dude, TCU, man.
Yeah.
Like when those teams that everybody gets tired of Alabama, Georgia, Clemson. Granted, I think Georgia's been more of a recent powerhouse. and I love it because I go there. But I think when you have these classic teams that the I don't want to say the power, but the strength of the team is spread out more evenly across the country and in the different conferences, I think it does make the sport a lot more fun to watch
Yeah.
from a spectator standpoint.
Yeah. Yeah. I agree. I'm excited though for the expansion of the playoff. 12 teams, one NIL value alone, all right, is going to absolutely just skyrocket through
Dude,
the roof.
it's gonna be nuts. I was very happy to see that I think it really just leaves out from football in general. I think the thing there's always a fifth team.
Yeah.
I think A&M was it last year that they were at 5? I think they deserve to be in a playoff. They were that good right then.
Yeah.
And so, and just the perspective of football, I think it really opens up the idea. 12 is a lot.
12 is a lot.
And I think there's a significant difference between a 12th ranked team and a 1 through 3 or 4 ranked team.
Agreed.
I think there's a big difference in skill.
I agree.
Because I don't know who's ranked 12 right now, but that team is probably not as powerful as a Georgia right now. But I am very excited that it gives teams that are left at number 5, like if Hendon Hooker stayed healthy,
oh, absolutely.
They lost to Georgia. Yes, they had a bad game against South Carolina, but that's the best offense of the year.
Well, not only that, if Hendon Hooker's healthy, they're the number 6 team in the country. They play a home playoff game in Neyland Stadium against number 12.
You cannot. I wouldn't pick anybody against it.
No.
Except for Georgia.
All right.
In Neyland, though, dude. Yeah, no, I agree. It's like it really expands the possibilities. And when you're playing on a stage like that for the chance to go to the national championship, and people say, well, that's could be every game. When you're playing in a college football playoff game, anything can happen.
Oh, yeah.
But like you said, I'm also very excited because think about the expansion and opportunities that it's going to create for some of these new schools that maybe aren't as accustomed to being in the playoffs and the amount of opportunities for players on those teams.
Oh yeah, I mean, you look at it. You look at it, this is the reason that I've been a fan of the playoff expansion for a while now, is that recruiting wise, now top recruits have a reason to go somewhere
Absolutely.
that probably won't be a top 4 team.
Yeah.
Because they're still competing for it.
For sure.
So then, one, you have that. 2, on the NIL side of things, now you have more cities, more businesses in those cities, more collectives, more schools jumping onto that for these athletes.
Yeah, because these games have the possibility of being at a home location, right?
Right. Yeah. So you have that. On top of that, now you have, I mean, they're playing for everything. Like everything is on the line now. And so you look at just like the value that they create. You look at what Max Duggan or what these other people in the playoff have been able to do this year. Imagine when there's 12 teams and it's a home field advantage.
Come on.
So, I mean, just
that fires me up, dude. That is exciting.
The opportunities that these players have going into a 12-team playoff and the opportunities that are going to create themselves because now you're playing these home games, because now you're playing this extra game, because now you're playing on this big of a stage. I mean, the opportunities that are there now because of the expanded playoff are through the roof, more than anybody's talking about right now. And that's one of my favorite parts of it.
Yeah. And just, I mean, I just think about the kind of year that college football has been. Like, dude, I have literally seen some of the craziest college football. I would rank, honestly, some of the college football games that I've seen this year as the Tennessee-Bama game, obviously the Georgia-Ohio State game, the LSU-Florida State game. That was the first football game I watched this year.
Yep.
Unbelievable ending.
Mm-hmm.
These games are, I mean, and imagine then you put the possibility of that happening to continue
Yeah.
It'll elongate the season, which will be interesting for. I wonder. I don't know if they'll do like a smaller or a shorter regular season or not because it'll be more games
I
played.
don't think so.
Because you have the potential then to play three playoff games.
You have the potential to play 3 playoff games, but only 10 teams I think will have to do that. On top of because you'll have 2 teams that get a bye,
1 and 2.
right? But then you also have, I mean, every other team that doesn't make it, then you're cutting down revenue opportunities for them. So business side of things
In the regular season, you mean?
right.
Right.
It'd be hard to do that.
That makes sense.
So
That's fair.
but I mean, hey, get them ready for the NFL. They play 18 games in the NFL. So
That's right, dude. Coming up on the last week of NFL
I know it's nuts.
fantasy football playoffs. Hey, we got 2 business owners and 2 people in a fantasy football championship. We're not in the same league.
We're great at our craft.
We're not in the same league.
That's true. Next
But
year,
that's right.
great at what we do.
You don't want to be in that league, dude. My team's fire.
We'll see. Next year.
Yeah. No, but I think back to what we were talking. I think expanding the college football playoffs is going to be big for schools. I mean, players, NIL, fans, you
Yeah.
name it. I think
Yeah.
it's going to be fun. It's going to give it more of a March Madness feel.
That's true. I'm excited.
I love March Madness.
I think March Madness is the greatest sports event that happens. So full tournament.
Greatest?
Not is that currently goes on right now. Like full tournament wise, not like singular game, but full turn. I think it is the greatest.
Are we putting this on the level of like Olympics, World Cup, like that? Like, is this same level? Like March Madness is up there with the Olympics, and you're saying that the March Madness is better, or is this like college? Like,
I think it's up there with the Olympics.
college.
Let me. I don't think it's as good as the World Cup.
You can't say it's as good as the World Cup.
You can't say it's as good as the World Cup.
No, that's impossible. After what we just saw, did
Yes.
you watch World Cup?
I did. I don't think it's as good as the World Cup. I think the World Cup is the greatest sporting event. I take back my statement. But definitely out of college sports and out of everything, but arguably the Olympics and definitely the World Cup. I think March Madness is the greatest sporting event.
Because might be another hot take.
And here's the thing. In no other sport and no other sporting tournament or anything like that can you give anyone like St. Peter's a chance to be the 16th best team in the country.
This is true.
So
yeah, they made a wild run. Or
Loyola
Chicago. Yeah.
I mean, any just mid-major team that
Right.
you will never see compete for anything in football or anything like that has a shot in March Madness.
I agree. I think baseball, you do have a similar opportunity. Unfortunately, I think baseball, the regionals, super regionals, Omaha isn't. I don't. Omaha is pretty big. That's a pretty well watched tournament, but
It's well watched.
I wouldn't put it on the scale of March Madness, which is sad. I'm a baseball guy. That's my thing.
Yeah.
But
It just doesn't have notability. I mean, like everybody knows
that's another thing. And but I the fan experience of March Madness changes it too because nobody does brackets for a College World Series or I mean some people might, but I've played baseball my whole life and I've never done a bracket for the College World Series.
Yeah.
I think the fan experience changes it a lot.
Yeah. Agreed. So that's my reason. That's why I think that's my hot take of why March Madness holds up to that level.
I'm excited. Well, so we talked about the end of football season and what we can talk about on our podcast, but also football is big in NIL for what we're doing, but March isn't too far away.
March isn't too far away. We got a couple of basketball players who are competing for it. So we're excited to see where that goes. We're excited to hopefully start working with some more basketball players here pretty soon too.
Yeah.
But I mean, on top of that, I mean, I'm excited. I love basketball. I'm excited to talk about basketball.
Basketball's fun. Georgia just beat Auburn.
They did.
We're not much of a basketball school yet, but that's a big win.
Y'all are pretty good this year so far.
That's a big win.
Sure.
I sadly do think we were last in the SEC last year in basketball.
That sounds right. But you had football.
Always got football, baby. Always.
Last year's
We're just all
first in
around.
40. First year in 40 years. I don't know about always. Anyways.
You know who we beat, right? You know who we beat, right?
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, we won't get in. Hey, we're there twice in a row.
Hey, that's true. I'll give it to you. So, all right. Well, from here, let's talk about back to college football. We talked about this is our last chance to really harp in on that. Talk about just kind of this year how like some of these players who played in the playoff and who now are playing in the championship, how did their value really get affected as far as NIL and as far as where the playoffs took them?
Skyrocket.
Yeah,
One word.
yeah,
Skyrocket. I mean, dude, I love the story of Max Duggan. This guy literally, it's fairy tale. This guy literally is his NIL value at the beginning of the season was $27,000.
yeah.
Do you know what it is now?
It's just under 700,
Just
right?
under $700,000. That is wild. I mean, he went from not even being a starting quarterback on his football team that I actually saw this stat earlier. South Carolina had a higher percentage chance of winning the national championship than TCU at the beginning of the season. There were
Yeah,
two other schools in that category as well that they showed. I don't remember who they were. I feel like Auburn might have been one of them. But it was like teams that South Carolina ended up having a great end of the year and looked like a pretty dangerous team, honestly. Spencer Rattler went off at the end of the season.
yeah.
But I mean, a team that is not even close to being projected to make it to the college football playoffs, a guy that's not even the starting quarterback of that team, and now he is playing for the national championship on the biggest stage of college football. That
Yeah.
is, I mean, think about, I mean, you got the numbers right there. 27,000 NIL value
Yeah.
to just under 700,000. And that's probably increasing as we speak.
Oh, absolutely. I mean, if he wins the national championship, seven figures, immediately worth over $1 million.
100%. Yeah, no doubt. And that's what's so fun about what NIL is doing. And I know right now we're talking about a lot of the top 5% of guys and these. I mean, goodness, we had three of the top 10 um, ranked NIL value players in college football in the Georgia Ohio State game, which probably had Stetson Bennett in there now that he's going to the national championship. But
Yeah.
between CJ Stroud, Marvin Harrison Jr., Brock Bowers, Stetson, like those are guys that are making. I mean, CJ Stroud's probably upwards of, I want to say what, 2 mil, 2.5.
He's 2.4, I think.
That's wild, dude.
Yeah.
And I know we talked in a pilot a little bit that we try and separate ourselves personally in our agency, um, to kind of even the playing field for NIL athletes from all over the country. But it sure is fun to talk about some of these guys that like CJ Stroud that I mean that's probably a top two or three guy in NIL and
Oh, yeah.
like the level of his game, I mean that speaks to its own about his value in NIL as well. I mean,
Yeah.
the game that he had, I honestly walked away. I've seen Joe Burrow play football in person when he was at LSU. That was probably the greatest quarterback performance I've seen. It was actually the Oklahoma playoff game when they beat him like 55-0. I don't know if that was a score, but it was bad.
Yeah.
But other than that, like, I mean, watching CJ Stroud on Saturday, that was
CJ Stroud look good.
I seriously like you run back the Heisman voting right now, he wins.
I don't know if he wins.
After that,
But here's the thing, and this I'm not saying that I agree with this is how the Heisman's taken, but the Heisman is so reliant on statistics, and Caleb Williams just had the statistics.
talk about statistics. You know, Stetson Bennett threw for more yards than
That's true.
CJ Stroud in that playoff game.
That's true.
Don't hate on my man.
Hey, I think Stetson Bennett started last year as somebody that nobody really liked or believed in. last year earned
Dude, he
all of
started this year like that.
would earned all of Georgia's respect at least for the most part.
Yeah.
And then now by this point in this, like I like Stetson Bennett now.
Love the guy.
No shot I was telling you
But
that.
even, dude, but even Georgia fans were mad that he was coming back because I will be totally honest. Stetson Bennett, I love you, dude. You are the man. You will probably go down as one of the greatest Georgia quarter. Probably will go down
I
as
was about to say the greatest
the
quarterback,
greatest
in
Georgia
history.
quarterback in history. Like you don't just take a team back to back national championships after being a walk on. Talk about a Cinderella story, dude. That is
Yeah,
unreal.
yeah.
But I will admit, at the beginning of the season, I'm like, all right, go out on top. You won the ship. Honestly, the way I looked at it, I was like, you're clogging our system. Because think about how
Yeah,
many number one quarterbacks we've got in our system.
yeah.
But dude, I've never been proved so wrong. I mean, he has really, I mean, I wish that guy all the best. He is a dog, man.
Yeah, yeah.
He's a player, dude. He makes it happen.
Dude, he is. I'm excited. I'm proud of him for what he's done. As a non-Georgia fan, I'm proud of what he's been able to do. So good for
I
him.
seriously do. I mean, obviously he's earned the respect of every Georgia fan in the world, but I do hope that he's earned the respect of a lot of other people around the country because man, it's hard to look past what he's done in the past 2 years
Yeah.
and with his story. And I mean, the fact that he was a Heisman finalist this year is nuts.
Yeah. Let me ask you this: you loved what you saw out of CJ Stroud. Do you think he puts up any contention to Bryce Young for the best quarterback in the draft?
CJ,
Yeah.
100%.
Okay.
He's bigger, dude.
He's bigger.
I mean, who has a number one? Texans.
Houston Texans, probably, most likely.
The Houston Texans better draft a lot of offensive linemen for Bryce Young to step in there. Do I think that Bryce Young will go number one overall? Yes. Especially after what they just did to Kansas State. But
Bryce Young threw for 350 and 5 touchdowns,
he will go number one.
5 incomplete passes.
But for the Texans to be successful for Bryce Young, because he's an incredible athlete, very smart. I think Nick Saban said he was one of the best quarterbacks he's ever coached, which,
Yeah.
I mean,
That says a lot.
that says that, yeah. I don't even have to explain that. That's wild. His mindset, his athletic ability, his potential, super gifted. But the reality is he's going to play 18 weeks of NFL football. That offensive line has to be better. I mean, it's like that he won't last.
Yeah.
Literally, he will not last 18 weeks with that offensive line.
Do I think
He's not big enough.
Yeah. Do I think Bryce goes number one? Yes. Do I think that crosses the Texans' mind of will his frame be okay?
Has to.
It's got to cross their mind.
Yes. Dude, the only way they survive with that is if you draft Bryce Young number one, and then your next 10 rounds, I don't even know how many rounds there are in the NFL draft.
7.
7. So the next 15 rounds, you've got to draft offensive linemen. I'm not kidding, dude. Like, you have to.
Yeah. Yeah.
Or right. Do have a crazy off season. Why? I don't know, dude. But they've got to have a better front.
We'll see.
Front line for him.
I think Bryce goes first, but I think CJ just worked his way up as to a top 5 pick.
Oh, easily.
So because here's the thing, I think somebody's gonna have to trade up to get him. I don't even know who.
Dude, he's been in the Heisman finalists the past 2 years in a row. You don't do that. That's unheard of.
No, one, you don't do that. But two, I mean, there's not another team who has a top 5 pick that really needs a quarterback. I think somebody's going to trade up just to make sure that they get him. I mean,
do you think the Lions get a quarterback?
He'll be an asset. That I don't know about.
That'll be interesting. It's gonna be a fun
NFL
draft.
There's a lot of teams that I'm interested to see what they do.
You want to know hot take?
Positions. What's that?
Number one overall for the second year in a row from the University of Georgia, Jalen Carter. Shout out. Just because 2 years in a row, number one overall, Georgia. That's all.
You think anybody looks at Walker and what he's done this year as a downgrade for that? Because I mean, Walker's been good. Don't get me wrong. Walker's looked great, but Thibodeau and Aiden Hutchins have also have looked better. Same with Sauce Gardner.
Sauce Gardner has a lot of penalties.
He can have a lot of penalties. He also has a lot of picks.
I know. I was just kidding. Um, no, man. I'm not as well versed in the NFL as I am in college football.
Fair.
I think I know at the first half of the season, Walker did way better than Thibodeau. Because he was hurt, wasn't he?
Thibodeau was hurt.
Yeah.
Yeah.
A lot of people thought he was going to be a bust.
Yeah, that's true.
I don't think they're upset with that pick. The Jaguars needed defense.
No, they're not upset at all, and their defenses look pretty good this year.
Yeah, no, I think
they're winning their division right now.
Oh yeah,
They're a playoff team.
I mean, that's a full turnaround. I'm not saying it's because of their draft picks, but I don't think they're upset about.
No.
Like, I don't think they regret what their pick was.
No, not at all.
Can't be, right?
Surely not.
Nah.
I don't know. Aiden Hutchins is a defensive end though that has 3 interceptions this year. So that's
right place at the right time. That's not fully skilled. That's
No.
it could be, but I think that's the right place.
There was one play where he stood on the sideline just close enough that he looked like he was on the bench.
Oh, I saw that, dude. That was genius. Okay. That is pure
great.
IQ. That is IQ.
That is IQ.
That was sick.
Anyways,
I don't know how they haven't seen that before.
I have no idea. But I mean, you're a quarterback. You're not looking for that. You're looking for.
But you
so many
guys
other
in the
things on
box
field.
has to see it, right?
I
You've
mean,
got how many
maybe?
coaching staff do you like? The amount of eyes you have on that field from the sideline, from the box, all that, and you don't see a guy standing on the sideline,
But every single
not fully on the
But
sideline.
every one of those people has something that they're already looking for, and somebody standing close to the sideline is not on that list.
It's obviously not out of the question because it happened.
Right.
But I look back at it and it's like he wasn't even really that close to the side. Like he wasn't even touching the not the hash, but like the yard lines on the
Yeah,
there was a good couple yards before he was on that sideline.
That's true. I don't know. It's
It
interesting.
worked.
That's true. Anyways, back to college football. We're actually doing this podcast for our college sports in general.
That's right.
Tell me, as a Georgia fan, give me your pick, give me your score prediction, and give me who you think NIL wise will benefit the most from this SEC champ or from this national championship game.
I obviously think the Dogs are winning. You have to expect that coming from me. I do think, genuinely though, unbiased opinion, I'm picking Georgia because I think they're the better team. I do think it's going to be closer than people think and than the spread.
Spread at 13.
I think it's a 12 down,
It
12
moved
and a half.
but it opened at 13.
But highest spread in national championship history, which I'm not surprised because the top 2 teams in the country and you think it's not going to be within 13. Doesn't always end that way, but I mean, dude, that's bold.
Yeah.
I think it's going to be closer to that. I don't think it's going to be as close as the Georgia Ohio State game, but I really do think that it's going to be a similar shootout because I think our DBs have to show up if they want to. I think our offensive line is fine, and I think our defensive line is going to have a little better chance of getting through TCU's offensive line than against Ohio State's. Ohio State's offensive line was unbelievable. And part of that was CJ Stroud. Anytime we got pressure on him, he ran for 25 yards. I think our DBs really have to show up because we kind of got exposed a little bit against Ohio State.
Yeah.
They have a good receiving core and
great receiving core, great quarterback.
Great quarterback.
TCU has that too.
They do. And that's why we really need to show up. And that's why I think it's going to be a shootout because, I mean, it's a high-scoring offense. And I think if our defense shows up, that's the way we win because I do think that their defense isn't as strong. And I think a big misconception with Georgia football is obviously they had the best defense, one of the best defenses in college football probably ever last year. And people really focus on that. And I think you lose focus on the fact that we have a pretty dang good offense.
Yeah.
I mean, Stetson Bennett's a dog. Unfortunately, Darnell Washington is hurt, but between Brock Bowers, A.D. Mitchell, I mean, Kendall Milton, whatever,
You got the players.
Kenny McIntosh, we got the guys. Ladd. It's a high powering offense. We score a lot of points.
Yeah.
But I think Georgia wins. I think it's closer than the spread. I would I think we hold TCU to less than than Ohio State scored and to what they scored against Michigan.
Okay.
I would put it at like I think my score prediction is we're scoring 35 at least. I think it's 35 to 28
Okay.
or 35-24.
All right.
That's my final answer. 35-24. Final answer.
All right. I'm going a little bit higher than you. I think that I think Georgia pulls it out. Unfortunately, I'm a big TCU guy here.
Dude, if it wasn't Georgia, I would cheer for TCU.
Yeah.
You have to. Like they have not won a national championship in 85 years.
85 years.
That is nuts. If it were any other team than Georgia, I would cheer for TCU so hard. And I think literally everybody except for Georgia fans are.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, I used to live out in Fort Worth, Texas. I love TCU. I love the Horned Frogs. Love the place, love the people.
Mm.
I mean, I'm definitely going for the Horned Frogs here.
I don't blame you. I can't be mad. I expect it. I expect it.
Yeah. But with that said, unfortunately, I do think that Georgia pulls it out. I think that Georgia, my score prediction's higher. I think there's more offense than you think there will be. I'm going 35-42. Georgia wins by 7.
I like that.
That's
the only reason I put the score lower and that I think that we hold them to less points. Kirby Smart is I think one of the greatest coaches in the country. But B, I think so Kirby is known for his halftime adjustments.
Yeah.
He's also known for his adjustments into the next week. And I personally he was not happy after that Ohio State game.
No.
I do not want to be in that practice facility that whole week leading up to the national championship.
I don't, but you want to talk about halftime adjustments. TCU in the second half this year might be the greatest team college football has ever seen, is the second half TCU team.
But that's also what worries me, though. Like, they're coming back in the second half to teams like Baylor.
They just did it to Michigan.
That's fair. But the Pac-12 is not it, dude. Kansas State.
That's the Big 12.
That's what I'm. Big 12. Tomato. Big 12. Same thing, dude. The conference, it's not the same thing. But that conference is not it.
Look, do I think that the Big 12, see, you got me messing up now. Do I think the Big 12 is as good as the SEC? No. But
they talk about strength of schedule, though, and it's like,
who? But they have like 7 ranked wins.
But where are those teams ranked now?
I don't care.
I do.
They beat them.
Dude, I don't know.
Hey,
we might have to agree to disagree on that one.
We'll see. But anyways, third part of that question, who do you think's impacted the most NIL wise?
Max Duggan.
100% agree.
No doubt. I mean, obviously your Stetson, Brock, any high power player that is on either of those teams is going to increase their value. But like we talked about from the beginning, like Max Duggan's original NIL value now from the beginning of season to now, and then, I mean, has already gone up so much, and then it's just going to keep going up for him playing for a national championship. And if he plays really well, it goes up even more than it already has. And if they win, dude, I mean, like we said earlier, I think he's in seven figures.
Yeah. I mean, I agree it's Max Duggan. I think that even if they lose, I mean, as long as he looks like a competent football player,
Oh yeah,
I mean, I think his NIL value just for playing in this game is
and
going
he
to
proves why
skyrocket.
him being at this in this game proves why he was a Heisman finalist.
Yeah.
So I think that's he'll definitely be the biggest
Yeah.
impacted player from NIL. And I also take it to the guys we were talking about earlier, the guys that maybe don't play as much and can be marketed to these companies as I'm a TCU football player that just played for a national championship.
Yeah.
That creates a lot of value for guys that maybe haven't had as much opportunity as the
Yeah.
Stetson
I
Bennett's
mean,
and
you might
Brock
not be
Bowers
a
and CJ
household
Stroud.
name like those guys, but I mean, just being on that team and having that brand behind you.
For sure.
So even other sports at those schools, I mean, TCU is becoming like a powerful sports school now. Their basketball team's pretty solid. Their football team's in the national championship. I mean, they have a lot of things trending upwards in their athletic department, and I think NIL is only going higher for them too.
Yeah, for sure. Shout out Georgia basketball, by the way.
Georgia basketball beat Auburn.
That's right, baby. That's big, dude.
That is big. That
That's
is
a big
big.
come up from last year. We were not the hottest team. We almost beat Auburn last year, actually, though, when they were number one.
That's true.
I don't know if you watched that game, but I think we did finish last in the SEC last year.
Yeah, if not, right around there.
It was not. Yeah, it was the back end though. So
Yeah,
I think we're like 11 or 12-3 or something like that. So
12-2 sounds right. I don't know for a fact, but it sounds right.
yeah, I know. I think when we beat Auburn, we were 10-3, which was a couple of
Okay.
games ago. So I think it's 11 and 12 and 3 by now, or they might have
Okay.
lost another game.
Yeah.
But either way, Georgia basketball on the come up.
Y'all are.
Catch us in March Madness.
Y'all are. We'll see what happens. Well, that's about all we have time for today. But we look forward to being back every other Monday, here on the Hero Club. So we're excited to really dive into NIL, dive into what the industry's doing, what sports are affecting what players are doing what. Hear interviews from some players that we represent, hear interviews from companies that we've worked with, collectives, athletic departments, whoever that may be, some of our
Yeah.
agents. We look forward to seeing where this podcast can go.
Yeah, unpacking a little bit of. I think it'll be fun to really be able to talk about us and our experience in starting a company, and then leading into this and what that looks like as a student as well, and getting both sides of the business and the athlete side of things, like Micah said, with some guests. And so we're pumped. It's gonna be excited, y'all. Make sure you subscribe and check us out on YouTube, Spotify, Apple, all the platforms that if you're listening in the car, check it out on the where you can listen to the audio. And if you got nothing to do at home, pull us up on YouTube. But
Yeah.
tell your friends, subscribe, comment. Check us out on Instagram, our business account, Hometown Heroes. We'll be putting some clips on there as well. So yeah.
We look forward to seeing where it goes, and we will talk to you all again soon. Roll Tide.
Go Dogs, baby. Go Dogs.